You tap your phone screen without thinking. A feed of videos, posts, and headlines unfurls in front of you. It feels like the internet, raw and infinite, pouring straight into your eyes. But in the first few seconds after you open that app, a silent system is already deciding what you believe, what you buy, and even what you are afraid of. That system is not a person, and it is not the internet. It is an algorithm, born in the early 21st century, that turned one simple goal into the most powerful filter on your reality. The goal was not truth. The goal was not your happiness. The goal was just this: keep you watching. How did that happen? In the early days of the web, your online world looked very different. Websites were static. Home pages barely changed. If you wanted something new, you had to go and look for it. Search engines like Google helped, but they mostly answered questions you already knew to ask. Your browser was a window you controlled. Then a new idea began to spread through the tech world. Maybe your screen could decide for you. Maybe it could guess what you wanted before you even knew you wanted it. That idea would become recommendation. At first, recommendation felt harmless and even helpful. On Amazon, you saw customers who bought this also bought and found books you might have missed. On Netflix, your queue filled with suggested movies based on what people like you had enjoyed. Behind the scenes, data scientists talked about something called collaborative filtering. Instead of understanding a movie or a book in human terms, the system looked at patterns of behavior. People who watched this also watched that. People who bought this also clicked on that. To you, it looked like magic. To the system, you were a dot in a giant pattern. The real turning point came when this logic met the endless river of online video. In the early 2010s, YouTube was exploding. Billions of minutes of video were being uploaded. Most of it would never be seen. The question inside Google's offices became simple and urgent. Out of this ocean, which video should you see next? A team of engineers, including Paul Covington and his colleagues at YouTube, began to experiment. They were not philosophers. They were builders. Their job was to make the up next box better. At first, the algorithm was simple. It looked at what was popular. It looked at what you had just clicked. It suggested something similar and hoped for another click. The main score it watched was whether you tapped. Did you click the video or not? If you did, that was counted as success. If you did not, that video sank a little lower in the pile. It felt reasonable. But over time, the team realized something unsettling. Clicking a video is not the same as watching it. You know this from your own habits. You tap a title that sounds irresistible. The video starts. Within seconds, you feel bored, annoyed, or misled. You swipe away. To the old algorithm, that was still a win. It had earned the click. But when researchers looked deeper into the data, they saw a different truth. The real value to the platform was not the click. It was the time you stayed. Somewhere in the early to mid-21st century, that realization hardened into code. The recommendation system was rebuilt around a new metric: watch time. Not just whether you clicked a video, but how many seconds, minutes, and hours you stayed with it. The algorithm now cared about your entire session. If a certain kind of video led to longer sessions, it rose. If a video made a lot of people back out quickly, everything like it fell. This was the quiet discovery that changed what you see online. To make use of this, engineers needed more than simple rules. They turned to a new wave of machine learning called deep learning. Instead of handwriting if-then codes, they built artificial neural networks that could learn patterns across billions of views. In 2016, Paul Covington and his team published a paper called Deep Neural Networks for YouTube Recommendations. It described a system that took your viewing history, your searches, your device, your location, and many other signals, and compressed all of that into a hidden profile, an embedding of you. Not your name. Not your face. Just a point in a high-dimensional space that captured what kept you watching. Does that sound abstract? It is. But its effects are concrete. With this kind of model, the algorithm no longer needed to understand a video in human language. It did not care if a clip was about politics, cooking, or astrophysics. It only cared about patterns like yours. People with profiles near yours watched these 5 videos all the way through. People who started with this clip usually stayed on the platform for 40 more minutes. The system was trained to predict one thing. Given what you just did, what is the next video that will most likely maximize your watch time? Every time you clicked, watched, swiped, or paused, you were giving it more data to learn. Every action became a vote for more of the same. Did you feel like you were choosing freely? You were. But you were also training it. This new focus on watch time was not limited to YouTube. At Facebook, engineers like Lars Backstrom and his team worked on a news feed that would keep you scrolling. At Netflix, researchers ran endless experiments to predict what would make you watch one more episode. Then came TikTok, built by ByteDance, whose For You page took the idea to an extreme. Instead of relying heavily on who you followed, it watched how long you lingered on each short video. Every fraction of a second became a data point. Within minutes of first opening the app, the system built a sharp, evolving picture of your interests. It did not know your friends. It knew your attention. In labs and offices in places like Mountain View, Menlo Park, and Beijing, teams at Google Brain, Facebook AI Research, and ByteDance refined these systems. They tested different network architectures. They tried new loss functions, the mathematical expressions that told the algorithm what good looked like. Sometimes they used simple cross-entropy, sometimes they optimized for predicted watch time, sometimes for the probability you would come back tomorrow. These words sound dry, but each tweak meant a different world playing on your screen. Inside these companies, thousands of A/B tests ran silently. You and someone very similar to you might see 2 slightly different feeds. In one version, the algorithm was tuned to favor new creators. In another, it was tuned more heavily toward watch time giants. If your group stayed longer, your version of reality won. The code was updated. The losing variation disappeared. From your side of the glass, nothing seemed to change. You just felt like you were seeing more of what you cared about. Were you? Or were you being pulled toward what made the graphs rise? One of the strangest parts of this whole story is how little the algorithm knows about meaning. It can separate people into clusters. It can recognize that those who watch late-night gaming streams also often watch certain commentary channels. It can detect that someone who watches videos about climate anxiety might also respond to certain kinds of political content. But it does not understand climate, politics, or games. It only understands correlation. If watching this tends to lead to watching that, the connection strengthens. If it does not, the connection weakens. From your point of view, the feed feels personal. From the system's point of view, you are a line in a matrix. The counterintuitive twist is this: no one ever sat down and wrote, "Show this person more extreme content." No one explicitly ordered, "Push conspiracy theories." Instead, a collection of 21st century discoveries in machine learning simply optimized for engagement. Longer watch time. More comments. More shares. It turns out that outrage, fear, and shock are very good at holding attention. So the system drifted, step by step, toward content that kept you from looking away. Not because it hated you. Not because it loved you. Because that is where the signal was. You feel this in small ways every day. You search for a harmless video about nutrition. A few taps later, you are deep into extreme diet advice. You watch one video about a political scandal. Suddenly, your feed is a tunnel of anger on the same topic. You listen to a song that matches your mood. Within days, your playlists and recommendations wrap you in a soundtrack that amplifies that same feeling. It feels like the world is matching you. In reality, the algorithm is matching itself around you. Researchers outside these companies started to study these effects. Teams in universities and think tanks analyzed how recommendation systems influence radicalization, misinformation, and mental health. Some, like the scholars at the University of Amsterdam's Algorithmic Society Group, showed how feeds can create filter bubbles. Others dug into data provided by platforms during elections and crises. Their findings were complex. Not every dark outcome could be blamed on the algorithm. Humans choose. Culture shapes what gets made. But again and again, one pattern surfaced. When engagement is the North Star, your attention can be steered in ways you do not fully see. Do you ever feel like your feed knows you a little too well? That is not an illusion. Inside the companies, a new field began to grow alongside pure optimization, responsible recommendation. Teams at places like DeepMind and Google Research explored ways to align suggestion systems with human values. They asked how to reduce harmful spirals without destroying the usefulness of personalization. Some proposals tried to cap how quickly extreme content could spread. Others experimented with diversity in the feed, deliberately injecting posts that broke the pattern. A few systems introduced explanations, small labels telling you why you were seeing a recommendation. These are early attempts. The core engine, trained on your behavior, still hums beneath it all. Meanwhile, your daily life shifted quietly around this discovery. The music you listen to on your commute is a product of recommendation. The fashion you see as normal in your city is filtered through trending tabs and influencer feeds. The news you feel is urgent is ranked by a machine predicting what you will tap. The people you date may be introduced through apps whose matching algorithms learned from millions of past swipes. Even your sense of what everyone is talking about is mediated by trending lists decided by code. You live inside an environment that is constantly, invisibly, rearranged by systems that watch how long you stay. It is easy to imagine some mastermind doing this on purpose. A secret committee deciding what the world will see. The reality is stranger, and in some ways more disturbing. The most powerful editor of your reality is not a single person. It is a tangle of models, metrics, and optimization loops, created by thousands of engineers and researchers over 2 decades. People like Paul Covington at YouTube, Lars Backstrom at Facebook, and the teams at ByteDance and Netflix did not design a philosophy. They designed experiments. They discovered bit by bit that watch time, dwell time, and engagement could be predicted and increased. The rest followed. When you open an app now, you bring your entire history with you. Every pause, every like, every video you rewatched late at night is recorded somewhere in that system. From those traces, the algorithm builds a living guess about who you are today. If you suddenly change, it will change too. It might take a few days or a few weeks, but it will adapt. In that sense, you're still training it every time you scroll. But you are training it on metrics it chose, not on goals you set. Do you like that trade? Have you ever tried to push back, to deliberately confuse your feed just to see what happens? You can, in small ways, reclaim some control. You can clear watch histories. You can tap not interested when a video feels wrong. You can follow people and sources deliberately, not just accept whatever appears. Some platforms offer chronological feeds, or at least partial versions of them. Those tools matter. But the deeper shift of the 21st century is harder to undo. The default state of your digital life is no longer a neutral list. It is a ranked, tuned, and endlessly revised guess at what will hold your attention next. That is the accidental algorithm. When you think about big discoveries in science and technology, you may picture rockets, gene therapies, or quantum computers. Yet this quiet breakthrough in how attention is modeled and optimized has reshaped your inner life as much as any visible invention. It changed how you feel when you are bored. It changed how quickly you can fall into a new obsession. It changed how your fears are fed back to you from a glowing rectangle in your hand. The discovery was not a single experiment in a lab. It was a decade of data science, machine learning, and product design converging on one conclusion. What you watch can be predicted, and prediction can be turned into profit. Now, that conclusion is the air you breathe online. You tap your phone screen without thinking. A feed of videos, posts, and headlines unfurls in front of you. It feels like the internet, raw and infinite, pouring straight into your eyes. But now you know that in the first few seconds, an invisible system, tuned for watch time and built from 21st century discoveries in machine learning, has already made 1,000 decisions about what you are allowed to see. And once you see that, you can never quite look at that tap the same way again. If you liked this video, do like and subscribe to this channel. Comment below on which scientist would you like to watch next.